Imagine standing in a courtroom all alone, the world judging you, your voice trembling because you have no one to defend you. Now picture this, at the very moment when all hope is lost, two unexpected figures walk through the doors and change everything. This is not just a story, it's a lesson about truth, courage, and justice. If you want to hear how a maid accused by a billionaire found her strength in the most surprising way, stay till the end. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that touch the heart. The courtroom smelled of old wood and tension, every polished bench filled with curious eyes waiting to watch a spectacle. At the center of it all stood Maria, a 32-year-old maid whose trembling hands clutched the edge of her faded scarf. Her uniform was clean but worn, and her eyes, though heavy with sleepless nights, carried a fire that refused to die. She had worked for the wealthiest family in the city for over a decade, cleaning their marble halls, polishing their silver, and caring for their children as if they were her own. But today, she was not seen as loyal or trustworthy. She was standing as an accused thief before the court, her name stained by the very man she had once served with loyalty, the ruthless billionaire, Alexander Knight. Alexander was the kind of man whose presence swallowed a room before he even spoke. Tall, broad-shouldered, his sharp suit tailored to perfection, his cold eyes scanned Maria like she was already guilty. To him, this was not just a trial, it was a performance to protect his empire. He had claimed Maria stole a priceless watch, an heirloom said to be worth millions. For Alexander, accusing her was easy, one word from him carried more weight than all of Maria's pleas of innocence combined. And the worst part? Maria had no lawyer, no advocate, no shield. She had begged for help, but who would stand against the billionaire whose influence stretched beyond the courtroom? The judge entered, and silence fell like a heavy curtain. Maria swallowed hard, her legs barely able to carry her forward. She stood at the defendant's table, a single figure lost in a sea of powerful men in suits. Her heart pounded like a drum as Alexander's attorney, a silver-tongued man with a polished smile, painted her as nothing more than a desperate maid who had finally succumbed to temptation. She was trusted, the lawyer's voice boomed. She was given food, shelter, and wages far beyond her worth. And yet, she betrayed the very hand that fed her. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman is nothing more than a liar and a thief. Murmurs rippled across the room, and Maria felt every whisper like a knife. She wanted to scream, to protest, to tell them the truth, that she had never touched the watch, that she had only ever loved and served the family. But when her lips parted, her voice cracked, small and drowned out by the power of money and influence. The judge's gaze was stern, and Maria felt her knees buckle. For a moment, she wondered if this was how her story would end, branded a criminal, forgotten, and alone. Her mind drifted to the years she had spent in the Knight mansion, scrubbing the marble floors until they gleamed, ironing suits that smelled faintly of Alexander's cologne, singing lullabies to his twin sons when they were little boys. Ethan and Elijah, those names still warmed her heart. They were 12 when she first came to the mansion, innocent and full of questions. She had tied their shoelaces, bandaged their scraped knees, and whispered stories to chase away their nightmares. To her, they were like family. To them, she had been more than just a maid, she had been a second mother. But that was years ago. The boys were grown men now, inheritors of their father's empire, molded by his wealth and influence. Maria had not seen them in years. And as she stood in court now, her heart ached with the silent question, did they ever think of her? Did they remember the woman who once held their small hands and told them they could be anything they dreamed of? The prosecutor's words sliced through her thoughts like glass. Your Honor, he declared, we demand the maximum penalty. Theft of this magnitude cannot go unpunished. Let this be a warning to anyone who dares to betray the trust of the Knight family. Maria's lips trembled, but she forced herself to speak. I didn't steal anything, she whispered, her voice shaking yet desperate. I would never. I've given my life to serving their family. Please, please believe me. But the courtroom laughed softly, mocking her. To them, she was just a maid, her words carried no weight against the towering power of a billionaire. Alexander's cold gaze locked onto her, his jaw set with disdain. To him, this was already over. And then, the unexpected began. The tall wooden doors of the courtroom creaked open, and all eyes turned. Two figures stepped inside, their confident strides cutting through the suffocating tension like a blade. Maria's breath caught in her throat as recognition flooded her. Ethan and Elijah Knight, Alexander's twin sons. They were grown now, in their late 20s, tall and striking, mirror images of each other with sharp features, dark hair neatly styled, and a quiet authority that made people step aside as they walked. The room shifted, whispers racing like fire. Why were they here? Why would the heirs of the Knight Empire attend the trial of a maid accused of stealing from their father? Maria's heart pounded, confusion mixing with hope. She wanted to cry out their names, but her throat locked. The twins exchanged a brief glance, and without a word, they moved toward the front, their polished shoes echoing against the courtroom floor. They didn't sit beside their father. They didn't stand with his lawyer. Instead, they stopped near Maria. The judge raised an eyebrow, startled. "Gentlemen, do you have business here?" he asked. Ethan's voice was calm but firm. "Yes, Your Honor. We do." Elijah nodded, his gaze never leaving Maria. "We are here for her." The silence that followed was deafening. Alexander's expression flickered, for the first time revealing a crack in his armor. His sons, the very heirs he had raised to follow in his footsteps, were standing not with him, but with the woman he had accused. And in that moment, Maria's tears spilled over, not from fear, but from the faint spark of something she had thought she lost forever, hope. The courtroom froze as Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Your Honor, this trial is built on a lie. Maria didn't steal anything. She raised us, cared for us, protected us when no one else did. We know her heart. She would never betray us." Elijah opened a small black box in his hand, revealing the missing watch. Gasps echoed through the room. "We found this in our father's private study," Elijah continued, his eyes narrowing at Alexander. "He accused her to protect his pride. But the truth can't stay buried." The judge's gavel struck sharply, demanding silence, but the tide had already turned. The courtroom, once filled with scorn, now watched Maria with newfound respect. Tears blurred her vision as the twins stood beside her, their presence a shield stronger than any lawyer. Alexander's face tightened, but his son's testimony shattered his case. For the first time, Maria felt the weight lift from her shoulders. She wasn't alone anymore. And as she left the courtroom, flanked by Ethan and Elijah, Maria whispered a prayer of gratitude. Truth had won. Justice had prevailed. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories.